This video was created during the 2023 WGA and SAG strikes. Without the labor of the writers and actors currently on strike, Ahsoka wouldn't exist. Learn more about the strike at the link in the description. The first two episodes of Ahsoka made some minor changes to the epilogue of Star Wars Rebels. Whenever that happens, fans have questions and concerns about why the changes were made, which version is canon, is this a retcon, etc. So today I'll go through what changed, why I think the changes were worth making, and how they will tie into the rest of the series' themes. The epilogue of Star Wars Rebels shows us what happened to all of our main characters after the Battle of Endor. It's narrated by Sabine, and as she reaches the end of her story, she talks about how it's time for her to go find Ezra. She sees a Jedi shuttle flying overhead escorted by two X-Wings. She travels to the mural she painted of her rebel family, touches Ezra's face, and turns around to see Ahsoka, who is wearing white robes and carries this big staff. Together, they head off on their mission. So there's a change in the timeline where the shuttle flying in seems to be right before Sabine goes to the mural. In the show, Sabine sees the shuttle, has a tense meeting with Ahsoka, steals the map, is stabbed by Shin, recovers, cuts her hair, and then she's ready to go on the mission with Ahsoka, who is wearing gray robes this time. So why did these changes happen in the first place? Why not keep things exactly as they were? When Star Wars Rebels was ending over 5 years ago, I doubt any of the creators were expecting that one day they could continue the story in live action. I think the epilogue was included to give us some closure on the characters of the series, because who knew if we would ever see them again? I think they wanted to convey that Sabine wasn't going to abandon Ezra to his fate, and in Ahsoka's case, I think they wanted to show that she had changed in a big way. People have made jokes about how she's Ahsoka the White, but I don't think it's that far off the mark. Dave Filoni himself has compared Ahsoka to Gandalf before. In an interview, Rosario Dawson also said, "Dave and I talked a lot about Gandalf the Grey and Gandalf the White, talking about that transition and how she's someone very capable and excellent and looked up to as a leader, but she still has levels of development to go." So when they were writing the epilogue for Rebels, I think the creators wanted to communicate that Ahsoka would reinvent herself, maybe mystically, maybe just emotionally. In Rebels, she proclaims to Darth Vader that she is no Jedi. In the Ahsoka series, we are seeing her really leaning into that, telling Huyang that the Jedi Order is gone and to move on from his old protocols. Right now, she is Ahsoka the Grey. Not to say she's a Grey Jedi or anything like that. I see the color as a symbol that she is more unsure of her identity. She has very good reasons to not want to label herself as a Jedi. The Jedi Council failed her in the Clone Wars when they kicked her out of the Order. They invited her back, but the damage was done and she walked away. Then she saw how the Jedi had failed the people they were meant to protect during the Clone Wars when she met Trace and Rafa Martez. She is disillusioned with the Jedi Order as an institution and doesn't want to associate with them, despite still being a powerful force for good. But there's another former Jedi in this story, Baylan Skoll, who also very boldly claims that he and Shin are no Jedi. It's almost the exact same thing Ahsoka tells Vader, and I think that's deliberate. I think we are meant to draw parallels between him and Ahsoka. Both are former Jedi, both are training an apprentice, both have uniquely colored lightsabers, both are deciding how to use their powers without an institution telling them what to do. There are still a lot of questions surrounding Baylan and Shin and their motivations, but I think Skoll specifically will be a learning experience for Ahsoka, a way for her to realize that, you know what, there is some good in using the label of Jedi. They weren't perfect, but that name still means something. She can reclaim that identity for herself, not as part of an order, but a Jedi as they should be. Which takes us back to Gandalf, because that's exactly what he says when he comes back as Gandalf the White. The leader of his order, Saruman, betrays everything they stand for and falls to the Tolkien equivalent of the dark side. Gandalf dies and is sent back by the powers that be. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli mistake him for Saruman, and Gandalf says, "I am Saruman," or rather, Saruman as he should have been. It's also interesting to point out that Gandalf's personality shifted a bit after his fall in Moria. Gandalf the Grey was more playful. Gandalf the White was more serious. Ahsoka's characterization in The Mandalorian and Star Wars Rebels is far more somber than how she acts in the Clone Wars. I've seen people criticizing Rosario's performance of Ahsoka, saying she feels flat. I agree with that, but I think it's on purpose. It seems consistent with what we saw from her in Rebels. By this point in the story, I think Ahsoka has good good reason to be somber. She has experienced a lot of tragedy. She and Gandalf have also gone through very similar mythical journeys. Instead of Moria, Ahsoka traveled to Malachor. Instead of a Balrog, she fought Darth Vader. She and Gandalf both stay behind to fight their respective demons so their friends can escape. They are thought dead. Gandalf is saved thanks to the powers that be in Middle-earth. Ahsoka is rescued thanks to the mystical realm of the world between worlds, and Ezra is guided by Morai, the avatar of the closest thing Star Wars currently has to a godlike being. And then in the epilogue of Star Wars Rebels, the next time we see her after she escapes the underworld of Malachor is as Ahsoka the White. To me, that epilogue is telling us that Ahsoka has been reborn. She is a Jedi once again. So why change her back to Ahsoka the Grey for the series? We can see in concept art for The Mandalorian that they considered keeping her in the white robes when she met Grogu. We can also see in Rebels that she is wearing the same gray outfit underneath the white. But I think Dave Filoni decided that he doesn't want to skip over that story of rebirth. Ahsoka has been through some big mythological stuff and she's survived. But now we have a chance to see her go through the emotional journey, not just with Sabine, but within herself. And I agree, I think it's going to be good to see Ahsoka decide to become Ahsoka the White. So which version of events is canon? I would say what we're going to see in Ahsoka will be the most accurate version of events. We can infer from the Rebels epilogue that Sabine and Ahsoka head out together, find Ezra, and Ahsoka becomes a Jedi again. It's a summary, quickly told by Sabine to give the audience some closure. The Ahsoka series will expand upon the summary and give us the full story. But that's it for today. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for our continuing Ahsoka coverage, follow us on our socials, and consider checking out our Patreon page for video reactions and audio commentaries for every episode as they release. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.